What's up? What's up? This episode of the Earlverse sponsored by Never Back Down, Never Stay Down, Chris Nyland. One of my favorite tough guys. I got to take my horse pills before I work out, so I got to turn the lights on. It is a cold business. But you know what? I'm a soldier. You guys know that. Hit the like button, please. We can talk about anything. Anything you'd like in the world of the Earlverse. I hope you went to SoCal Pro Wrestling in Vista. I mean, there is actually a lot of pro wrestling in Southern California. There's obviously XPW. What up, everyone? There's Pro Wrestling Gorilla, PWG. There is GCW. I'm sure there's a couple independent wrestling organizations that I'm forgetting. So I've been to many. Been to them all. Earl, Dr. Nova, did you ask me to tell me about my first heartbreak and then retracted that? I mean, XPW is violent. That's definitely like ECW with no budget. And then GCW, they get some big names. I mean, I saw a main event maybe about a year ago. Who was it? Andrade against Joey Janela, the bad boy Joey Janela. And then Too Cold Scorpio wrestled in the main event for GCW 3 to 4 months ago. And let me tell you, man, that guy can still go. Pro Wrestling Guerrilla is like where Ricochet started. So, I mean, 10 years ago, or around that, people were freaking out about, you got to see this guy Ricochet. I don't know, Dylan. I don't know. I mean, my first heartbreak. Well, if you're not talking about women and just overall heartbreak, probably the first time I dealt with death was, as you guys know, Leroy was basically my secondary father, and he had a stroke So he was pretty fucked up the last year or so of his life. And then I can remember the phone call like it was 2 seconds ago, where his brother Ernie called and he said, "Hey Earl, can I talk to your mom?" I'm like, "Yeah, what's up?" And it was maybe 10, maybe 12. And he's like, "Leroy's gone." And I was a kid, so I wasn't really picking up what he was saying. I'm like, "Oh yeah, where is he?" Um, and then he said he died, and that was like the first death that I ever dealt with in terms of a woman. Like, I mean, they've all gotten worse. Each heartbreak gets worse, to be honest with you. But my first one, I don't know. I didn't really have one when I was younger, like where I was devastated. I think last few have been bad, but those weren't my first. I can't recall like one where I was just like devastated. Okay, I get it, Dylan. I don't recall him saying the F word in that scene, but it's been a minute since I've seen Animal House. What a great secondary cast. Um, if you really look at that cast, yeah, I mean Belushi, um, yeah, pretty much Queen on, pretty much. Um, I would say, Belushi and, but when you really look at the other actors in that, you had Tim Matheson who went on to do great things. Bruce McGill, who was D-Day. I mean, he's probably, since Animal House to today, the most prolific character actor. I mean, he's been in everything from Miami Vice to Law and Order to he's in something now, I think. Um, and Kevin Bacon in a smaller role. John Vernon, Dean Wormer, he was in, I think, the first Dirty Harry movie. Um, so Animal House, really a great cast, outside of Belushi. Of course, Peter Riegert. Um, I met him at Rob Schneider's wedding. I'm like, "Hey, do you ever get sick of talking about Animal House?" He's like, "Hey, there's worse things. Have you seen some of my other movies?" Oh, I didn't know that, AC/DC. I've always wanted to write a book on casting, like who else could have been gotten the part. I've always been fascinated by casting, and not even so much the lead actors, but like the secondary cast. They make the movie. Um, like Bruce Willis he was literally like the seventh choice for Die Hard. Frank Sinatra was up for it, Clint Eastwood, and then the usual action guys, Stallone, Schwarzenegger. um, I mean, Richard Gere was not the first choice for American Gigolo or Officer and a Gentleman. John Travolta was both. Um, Boone Shakalaka. Um, I mean, uh, Harrison Ford wasn't the first choice for Han Solo. If you're a fan of The Wire, the guy who played the mayor, Glenn Thurman, black actor, and I think there was like a screen test of him, pretty far along in the auditions. Yeah, that's why I love casting. I mean, one um, change in a TV show or movie, like it would be totally different. Like, of course, you guys know I'm a big Miami Vice guy, and when you look at Miami Vice, I mean, the Crockett and Tubbs was almost Larry Wilcox from Chips and Denzel Washington as Tubbs. So, and although he got the part originally, Gregory Sierra, who I think was only in the first 4 episodes of Miami Vice, and then they brought in Edward James Olmos because Gregory Sierra didn't want to live in Miami. So, what would it have been like if he would have stayed? Excuse me. Excuse me. I liked Luke Skywalker, but I'm sure he wasn't the first choice. I mean, I don't think I was the first choice for Barry Jelly. Not to wing myself into the conversation, but I think the original Barry Jelly, like on paper, before Tyler the Creator saw me, was Kevin Richardson, who's like a legend in the voiceover world. And then Tyler saw me at the Comedy Store, and he just probably like, well, let's keep Kevin, but I want this guy to be the dad instead. Um, well, I think Eric Stoltz's problem was he was playing it too straight, like it wasn't funny. So that was interesting. I'm trying to think of some other like casting scenarios that I mean any TV show you see that who you're seeing on screen excuse me was not the first choice. I was at a lunch, a business lunch for something related to me, and this group of guys I was with are all in the business, and they're directors and agents and managers. They're trying to help me for once. But once we stopped talking about me, they were talking about this movie they were making or trying to make and get financing with. And I won't mention the names just because, I don't want to get sued. But literally for the lead role, for one role, they had 50 names. 3 were big names, like names you would all recognize. And then there's like a B list of names. And then, well, if they turn it down, well, if we can't get this guy, we'll get this guy. If we can't get this guy, we'll get. I mean, it was fascinating to hear that you had 50, and really all the actors were well known. Even the 50th choice was someone you've seen on TV. So um, I'm trying to think of some other cool. Uh, I mean, who was it? I think Rocky, Stallone was far from the first choice. I think they wanted, I want to say Burt Reynolds, Robert Redford, and Gene Hackman, because Gene Hackman is like a huge boxing fan. So, yeah, I mean, there's a cut of Back to the Future with Eric Stoltz in it, and even in the finished product with Michael J. Fox, there's some shots of like the back of Eric Stoltz's head um, that they just kept in because it wasn't really that important to the film. And I know that who I just reading The Wrestler, uh, who was it? Mickey Rourke was not the first choice. The studio really they wanted Nicolas Cage, and then Hulk Hogan said they offered him the role. I don't know if I believe that, but I could see Nicolas Cage as the wrestler. Um, so there's just so many. Other movies, like especially in the 80s, where um, the action movies were probably written for Stallone, and then he passed. Well, let's switch it around a little bit and give it to Schwarzenegger, and things were written for Schwarzenegger, and he didn't want to do it or whatever. Oh, let's give it to Stallone, and Van Damme and Seagal um, probably traded movies, in terms of scripts that were written for the other, and the other got it. I mean, hell, even the Expendables, they offered Seagal probably a part and he turned it down and someone else got it. And, Carl Weathers was probably in the mix for the Terry Crews part, because Terry Crews being in the Expendables really made zero sense. He had no background in action movies. Yeah, yes, 1,000% Hulk Hogan was very good in Mr. Nanny. Um, and I mean, we could really devote a podcast to casting. I mean, Peter Weller was not the first RoboCop. Michael Ironside was literally the first RoboCop, but the costume didn't fit him. Like he was too big. So Peter Weller literally got the part because he fit the fucking costume. Like how crazy is that? And then even like on a show like Sons of Anarchy, um, they did a full pilot that is out there somewhere. It'll probably never be aired because you have to fucking pay the actors who didn't end up in it. But in the Ron Perlman part, Scott Glenn played Clay Morrow. And kind of like, um, what was I about to say? They just kind of like Eric Stoltz in Back to the Future. Scott Glenn just played it too straight. Like apparently in one of the first table reads, FX had kind of told him an executive spoke up in the meeting like, "Hey, we can't go this far, and uh, we got to like tone it down. This is FX." And Scott Glenn said something to the effect of, "So, if I were to call you a cunt, that wouldn't get it in the final edit." And they're like, "Huh? This guy's a real rogue wild card." So, you know, they reshot the pilot, um, and then. Not Emilio Estevez, but Emilio Rivera, who played Marcus Alvarez, the leader of the Mayans. In the pilot with Scott Glenn, he was originally a Sun. He wasn't a Mayan. He was in the Suns. How different would that have been? So, I mean, there's so many. Like we could. I love this topic. Um, well, I mean, I think Jesse Ventura. You can put someone with no acting experience in a movie and they could do great if it's in their wheelhouse. Like you're right, Jesse Ventura was essentially playing his wrestling character, which he had done 1,000 times, so it kind of checked out. um I met Peter Weller at was it, Best Buy and on La Brea and Santa Monica. He was in the printing section, and I had to go up to him, "Hey, Mr. Weller," and he looked up at me like, just get it over with. I just gotta be able to tell my kids one day I met RoboCop." And he kinda smiled, he gave me a fist bump, and then I could tell he was looking at me like, "Alright, dude, you met RoboCop, beat it." Um, and, I would love to know who the other casting choices were for Predator. That wasn't the first group. Um, I mean, everyone knows that Jean-Claude Van Damme was the original Predator, but he was too clumsy in the outfit. And I think the director Peter McTiernan, he wanted someone more imposing, so they found Kevin Peter Hall, who was legit 7 feet and pretty muscular for a 7 footer. But I would love. I mean, Shane Black, who was the first guy killed with the glasses. Um, he wrote the movie, so I'm pretty sure no one else auditioned for his part. But I'm sure Carl Weathers wasn't the first choice, or Bill Duke, or Jesse Ventura, or um, Richard Chavez. Um, and I'm sure Schwarzenegger probably wasn't the first choice. Maybe Stallone was. And then maybe Schwarzenegger was up for Over the Top. And they just essentially switched movies. Oh, 100% Bill Duke. You ever seen Bill Duke with a beard? Um, I would love to be the voice of Batman in The Dark Knight Returns. I mean, in voiceovers, that's a whole nother, um, you talk about. Now, I will admit I don't watch a lot of cartoons or animated stuff. Shit, I barely watched the Jellies, and I was the lead baby doll. But do you know how many times I've been on hold? Uh, what they call in the voiceover business and acting, when you're on hold for something, you're on avails, which means you have to be available. And I can't tell you how many gigs I've been on avails with, and literally the day of shooting, I get a phone call, either "Come on down, you got it," or "Hey, we're gonna go with Rob Riggle or Dylan McDermott instead, but thank you." That's a great question. My favorite black actor. They're probably one too. I mean, if I had to name my top 5 favorite black actors, I would go Bill Duke, Yaphet Kotto, Carl Weathers. Carl Weathers is a good actor. Um, Andre Braugher. And I'm gonna throw a wild card in there, even though he died, I think, in 1994. So, Steve James, who was like the go-to black good guy with the mustache, great body. And he died kind of mysteriously, which I don't want to say what I think it was, but um, I mean, I like Yaphet Kotto. My go-to Yaphet Kotto film is The Star Chamber, one of the great um, guilty pleasure movies. It was kind of like 52 Pickup, where it just should have done better. Great cast, Michael Douglas. And a bunch of well-known character actors. James Sickling, who just died, he played the disgruntled father. Hal Holbrook, just an amazing cast. Um, so, I'm trying to think some other black actors. I mean, Philip Michael Thomas was great in Miami Vice. Um, I'm trying to think. Well, James Earl Jones, I guess, if you're including voiceover stuff. I mean, maybe the greatest voiceover artist of all time. Billy Brown is another one of my favorite black actors. A lot of people don't know the name, but they'll know the face. He's like a chiseled black actor. He does the voiceover for the Navy, the Marines, the few, the proud, the Marines. Um, and he was also the bad guy in loosely in seasons 5 through 7 on Sons of Anarchy. Shalom, SCVID show. So yes, those are my favorite African American actors. Louis Gossett. I mean, there's it's tough to pick 5. Keith David, yeah. I mean, we could. Now I'm really trying to think of, but Andre Braugher is someone who like you you don't really hear talked about in terms of great actors, and I'm trying to think of some other black actors. I mean, I've seen so many. I mean, does Fred Berry at Rerun account? No, I'm just kidding. Um, so I'm trying to think. I've seen so many films. Yeah, I mean that about covers it. I think I've hit every black actor from my past. Um, I'm trying to think of TV shows. Um, well, Charlie Barnett. He was more of a comic than an actor, but yeah, Sidney Poitier. I used to live, Ryan, not with, but in the same building as his daughter, and she was fucking beautiful. And I think her name was Sydney too. Uh, yes, I've already said Steve James, Mr. Zoom. And we would always walk our dog late night. She was a pretty well established actress in LA. Maybe not famous, but established. I mean, there's tons of working actors that you've never heard of and probably never will hear of, but they work. Um, you all can't be stars. Um, I mean, Sherman Hemsley and Red Fox. I mean, yeah, they're great. I mean, I wouldn't say they were my favorite black actors. Uh, what does an episode of the Jellies pay? No, I don't mind. It's pretty common knowledge. It's I'm in SAG, the union, so I get, when you're paid originally to do it, it's about $1,250 per episode, and then you get residuals, which it depends on what they're seen on. If they're seen on Adult Swim, it's a little higher, 50 to $100, and because I'm the lead, I get a little more than say someone who was a guest star. If it's streaming, on like adultswim.com versus Adult Swim, the television channel. Uh, so, does C. Thomas Howell and Soul Man count as a black actor? Hello. Oh, really? That's weird, William. I don't know what to do about that. I mean, you're one of the few, if not the only one, to tell me that they have a problem with notifications. I'm not sure. I mean, you're a moderator. Can't you check your name and see if there's something fishy going on? But I also don't get a lot of notifications for things I'm subscribed to. So, YouTube is a little wackadoony. I mean, I'm not really a Chris Tucker fan, but well, Danny Glover's. Really, I only like Danny Glover in the first Lethal Weapon, but he's certainly, uh, just he gets a lifetime pass for the first Lethal Weapon. Boy, C. Thomas Howell looked a little fucking rough in I think it was season 2 of Animal Kingdom. I don't really like Anthony Anderson, although I will say he was kind of rude to Chandler on Shark Week. So, um, I'm not a fan. But he was good as the bad guy in The Shield. Um, we're not talking about Beetlejuice in here. We don't talk about the Whack Pack. Um, I mean, in general is whack, but really there's no alternative. Um, like they take 30% of super chats and super any money you make, whether it's super thanks or whatever, that seems a bit excessive, but their probably attitude is where else you gonna go? Rumble? I don't think so. So I didn't see Bat 21. And there's some other great black actors. Trying to think the guy who played Granny in The Longest Yard. He was always good and stuff I saw. Of course, I talked the original Longest Yard. Uh, well, I mean, they got you by the balls, and until someone invents something that's a real alternative to YouTube, and I don't see that coming anytime soon. But, you never know. I mean, listen, I grew up in the Blockbuster era. If you were to tell me, hey, in a couple years from now, there's going to be a streaming service called Netflix where you can automatically watch movies. You don't have to rent them. You don't have to go to a store and rent a VHS. I'd be like, no way, man. So, I mean, never say never. I mean, someone right now, some 17-year-old kid is in his basement in Steubenville, Ohio, designing a program that's going to take out YouTube in a few years. But until then, it's look at all the podcasters who go to Rumble, and you just totally. I don't think I've ever been on Rumble once. I do have a voiceover agent. I'm with the best agency in the world, so. Yes, Lexington Steele, a fantastic actor. Uh, Jerry Reed is awesome in everything, and a great musician. You kind of get stuck as that's the guy who sang the theme from Smokey and the Bandit, but a fabulous guitar player. Do you have any favorite Loverboy songs? I do like, obviously Working for a Weekend. The strange thing is, I think it's the bass player from Loverboy. He disappeared in a boating accident like 25 years ago. They never found the body. Now, I have a working theory that he didn't like to play Working for the Weekend anymore, so he just took off. Idris Elba, yeah, I mean, if you delve into the Wire cast alone, Idris Elba, uh, guy who played Senator Clay Davis. Shit. Um, who played Stringer Bell? It was the other Wood Harris, I think is his name. Uh, um, anyone here on Blue Ski yet? I don't even know what that is. But if you were to also say, listen, the pay-per-view model's totally changed, and given how well the Paul Tyson fight did, um, on Netflix, that may totally ruin pay-per-views now. Like, um, to be honest with you, I got my money's worth on that fight. What would I pay $12 a month for Netflix? $12 a month, and I saw a couple great fights. The two Mexican dudes, that was a great fight. The two broads, that was a great fight. And of course, the main event was it was a kind of a pro wrestling farce, but to be honest with you, for $12, great value. Now, if I would have paid $100, which would have been the model 2-3 years ago, I would have been pissed. Yeah, Michael K. Williams. I mean, there's tons of great black actors. Yeah, I mean, the WWE Network. I mean, it's really, if you would have told me, what is it? If you subscribe to Peacock, you get like WrestleMania for free or something. Is it Peacock or Paramount Plus? That's a great fucking deal. Coming soon, Netflix Roast of the Year show with Jeff Ross, Mike Gibbons, the showrunner. Yeah, I've worked for both. No thanks. I mean, I remember when I was writing for Dr. Ken for the Alec Baldwin roast. Uh, Comedy Central wasn't paying me. Dr. Ken was. So Comedy Central calls me on a conference call with Dr. Ken, basically saying, "Hey, Earl, we're not happy with what you're giving Dr. Ken." I'm like, "Well, the reason I'm writing for Dr. Ken is because he wasn't happy with the open mic writing staff you gave him." And then they kind of started yelling at me. And I'm like, "Hey, fuck this, man. You guys ain't paying me." So I mean, any show Jeff is on, he's the worst on the show. I mean, objectively, if you watch the Tom Brady roast, he was the worst one on it. I mean, objectively, go watch it again and tell me if I'm wrong. The three best people on the Tom Brady roast were Schultz, Nikki, and Hinchcliffe. The rest, Sam J bombed, but she's not a roast comic, so it's really not on her. Gronkowski was just babbling. As much as I love Bert and Tom, it was like, it was a little rough. And like, name me one good Jeff joke. And it's not even a Jeff joke because he just recites what other people write for him. But I'm being objective. Like, yeah, I hate the guy. Like, literally, there's hatred in my heart for him. It's not just a dislike. But like, you guys watch the Tom Brady roast or any roast he's on. He's the worst part. He's just the best businessman. Are you represented by Golden Artist Entertainment? No, I'm not that lucky. I'm not that lucky. Well, I mean, Belichick he's funny because he's usually so unfunny. It was like good to see him lighten up. 100% William Zoom, 100%. I've worked with Gibbons on, I think he was involved in Roast Battle. I mean, he didn't Roast Battle. You wrote your own jokes, although they did have a pool of jokes people could pull from, but I didn't want that. I mean, I remember a female writer. Her name is Madison. She showed me her jokes she was so proud of for the Baldwin roast. And they were all just like hacky jokes about Dr. Ken. And she didn't know I was writing for Dr. Ken at the time. And I'm like, and she was so proud of the jokes she was showing me. And I'm like, this is why I'm writing for Dr. Ken. And I'm not a writer. I'm a performer. I'm the first person to admit, like, I'm not a writer. I'm like Kiss. I'm not a musician. I'm an entertainer. So the fact that they were calling me in to write ain't a good sign for who you had writing for you. I mean, Jerry Gelber's like, he needs no representation. So is your hot? Wait, is your okay? Peter Chicken Man Brennan, are you? Who's typing for you right now? Crispy Chicken. Hello. Is your hate more like Cornette Russo hate or Mencia Rogan hate? Uh, well, but I think Russo and Cornette are just jealous of each other, and, I would say, listen, when you're fucked over on 2 TV shows, like I was, on 2 different networks, so you can't say the executives didn't like you, because the only common denominator were Jeff and his manager, Amy. They were executive producers on both shows, and, the fact that I went 4 and 1 on TV and beat every fucking big name they threw at me, and I never got another season, that's embarrassing, and that's why the show sucked. I mean, Roast Battle might be the only television show to ever jump the shark season 1 when half the fucking cast shouldn't have been on it. But Jeff don't care. Roast Battle is still going because he's got a bunch of open mic writers and open mic staffers and older comics who are kind of desperate and thirsty who think working for him is, oh my God, I get to meet John Mayer tonight. Well, you can meet John Mayer at Saddle Ranch. He's there right now. Yeah, Ryan, that's cool. I mean, I love Bert and Tom. I just, they're not roast comics. Although I think Segura could be a good one. He's got a snippy side to him. Uh, yeah, I mean, I don't think Russo and Cornette hate each other, but I think a little bit of it's shtick, and um, they're just jealous of each other. I mean, I think Russo ultimately was, um, well, if Lifshitz was your real last name, I'd change it too. I mean, um, I think Russo was essentially just a fan who probably reached out to WWE like I've done many times to AEW, said, "Hey, I'd like to write for you guys." Um, do I think cancel culture has anything to do with me not being? No, I mean, you know, any stand-up comic you see on like the Tonight Show or um, Kimmel or whatever, it's all managers. You know, the funniest comics I know don't have managers. So, oh, roast show. No, I mean, I don't. I'm not a big enough name to be considered. I mean, I'm the first person to admit that. But on roast battle, when you look at who I beat, like I beat Jesse Joyce, who's Comedy Central's #1 writer. I mean, they after the battle they were like, well, he's in the room, but before it was like, well, he's our guy. I beat Tom Ballard, who most people would say beat Jimmy Carr in the untelevised season. I beat Jimmy Carr, and I mean, I lost to Tiana, but you know, and then I beat K. Trevor Wilson in Canada, which I'm more proud of that victory than any of the other ones. Um, and then I mean, that's it's not like I'm beating open micers. I mean, 3 people I beat had got all 3 seasons. How's that make any fucking sense? And really, I could have sued the network. I could have sued Jeff, but, it's the quiz show, rule. When it's a cash prize show, there's supposed to be no conflicts of interest. And, I mean, you got Jeff as an executive producer and the head judge. So what happens when he's judging a battle and one of the people battling writes jokes for him? Who do you think is gonna get the favoritism? And I saw it firsthand. So 100%, Peter Chicken Man Brennan. I'm down. I'm down. Um, I mean, Russo's just a fan, like literally, and I think his sensibility was just what Vince wanted at the time. Yeah, Seth Rogen did vote for me, and that's when people say the battle with Jimmy Carr was rigged. When you look at the judges that night, it was Kimmel, Rogan, and Jeff. I had met Kimmel once before. I don't think he even knew my name, and I had never met Seth Rogen before. The first time I met Seth Rogen was after that battle. So I don't think Comedy Central was rigging the battle for me to beat Jimmy Carr, you fucking momos. Uh, that's a good idea, Dylan. Who knows? I can't comment on that, Queen on. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I just think Vince, um, but you could say the same thing about Tony Khan. I don't think Tony Khan wants people who will argue with him. Like if I was uh, a writer for Tony Khan, not even a head writer, but like in the room, I'd be like, "Hey, you can't do this or that. Like this just doesn't make any sense." And I know you guys are all looking at me like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" Like, I'm the guy who's going to buy the pay per view on Saturday. So, yeah, I mean, Cornette is literally a wrestling savant, a better businessman. I mean, listen, you got on like look with what Jeff has faced the last couple years, and he still constantly works. That part I admire, to be honest with you. Um, I mean, most people I think thought his career was over when what happened happened, but guy works more than he ever has worked. And, um, he's in a great position because he don't care if he burns a bridge with me. You think he cares about burning a bridge with some comic in his mid-50s? Fuck no, because he realizes that there's 10 people behind me who'll work for him for free. Like, it's a perfect fucking scenario for him. But that's also why he maybe has never had long-term success on a show. Like, when you look at his projects, Roast Battle should still be going in terms of the TV show. Because roast battle is great when it's two people who know each other. And I know for a fact that before the show was picked up by Comedy Central, certain people were like, well, who's going to want to watch Earl and his friends do inside jokes about each other? No one's going to get it. And look at the best battles in the history of roast battle were the ones with the least famous people. Me and Tiana, me and K. Trevor Wilson, uh, me and Jimmy Carr, and and you look at the worst battles. Where Ralphie May's battle was embarrassing, but they knew Ralphie was going to be bad at it. But oh well, we got to have a few extra viewers. And Ralphie May, I love Ralphie, one of my best friends, but Ralphie didn't draw one extra viewer. He didn't. Have him as a judge. I mean, really, the only person who should be a judge is Jesselnik, because he gets it. Like he gets uh, the battlers are the stars of the show, not the judges. Some people don't get that. I'll let you guess who. Um, well, I mean, I think with Tom Brady, there was really nothing for him to lose or gain. I mean, personally, I wouldn't have done it, but what are you going to do? If Roast Battle was still on, it would have been so big that my brothers KB and Neil would have battled just for the views. I mean, yeah, but I mean that's different because those are celebrities, but that would be a great battle. Both are great writers. Kevin would probably become unhinged halfway through the battle. Um, I mean, I would have loved to have booked the battles for season 3. I'll take myself out of it. The first battle that should have been booked for season 3 was Frank Castillo against Mike Lawrence. Season 1 champ versus season 2 champ. Who's better? It's a natural storyline. Needs no storytelling. Who's better? And then me and Olivia, we had a great battle when we were dating. Let's see what it's like when we're not talking. Natural storyline. Nothing needs to be set up. It's just boom. But that's why the show's not on the air anymore. I mean, season 3 was horrible. The battles were horrible. They were fake. It was pro wrestling season 3, which is season 3 of Roast Battle was everything that Roast Battle isn't. I mean, I love the Sklar brothers, but you could tell they practiced their battle. If you wanted to do the Sklar brothers, have the Sklar brothers take on Corey and Chad, 2 other twin brothers. That would have been fun. But Blake Griffin and Jeff, like, what was that? It was garbage. Uh, I mean, I don't watch Bumping Mics, so I don't know who's in it. Brian Callen would have no chance against me. You know, he just wouldn't. He's not a roast comic, but I would go right to where you think I would go with him. And what's he gonna say? Um, would you have booked Leslie versus Tiffany on MLK Day? Or I don't talk about the Laugh Factory in here, Chicken Man. We don't do that in here. But I'm trying to think of other battles on season 3. Um, like I'll give you an example of a bad battle on season 3. Kim Congdon versus Olivia. They don't know each other, so there's no natural heat. And that was Olivia's 3rd season on the show. So she was kind of lazy at that point. I'm going to get every season, so I'm not going to I'm going to phone it in. And Kim was the worst person in the world to phone it in against because she had been passed over for seasons 1 and 2. So when they put her up against Olivia, I think Kim's mindset was, "Oh, you want to put me against the queen of the show? Well, guess what? I'm the new queen." And she went hard. And that battle was like one-sided because, it just um, you take 2 people who don't really know each other, there's no natural storyline and what happened happened. Would you have oh sorry. What do you think of the Beast? What's the Beast Mordos storyline? I'm a big fan of the MXM collection. Those guys are fucking funny. Ben Bones Jones. Speaking of Bones Jones, I mean, John Jones might be a piece of shit, but man, he's the GOAT. He's unbeatable, man. This guy, Tom Aspinall, he ain't going to beat Jones. I mean, there's no one that can beat Jones. Now, I saw Mark Hunt. Uh, he went online saying Jones is a cheater. And, I don't know if Jones is roiding or not. I mean, he's passed like 90% of his tests. Literally, I think he's passed like 58 of 61 tests. So, read into that what you want. Would you have booked Tony versus Ping Dang? No, I mean, I don't think Ping Dang's very funny. So, no offense. I'm sure he doesn't care what I think of his comedy, but I mean, who would I book Tony against? I mean, me and Tony would be a good battle because we know each other's dirt. So we'd go hard on each other. I'm trying. Yeah, I mean, do you think Andrew? Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, I know some of the people who are writing for Schultz. I mean, everyone uses writers on that. Trust me on that one. I mean, I know Tyler Morrison and Ryan Nissen were writing for Ryan or Andrew Schultz. So, but that's no big deal. Everyone uses writers on these roasts. No one outside of maybe Mike Lawrence. Now that's talking about roast battle versus roasting. Um, uh, what uses their own jokes. I mean, solely. Like, I would say it's getting myself into the conversation, talking about like my battle with Jesse Joyce. I would say I wrote 90% of my jokes I told. Tom Ballard, 80%. Jimmy Carr, 50-50. Because I had so many comics sending me jokes for Jimmy. Sarah Tiana, 50-50. And then K. Trevor Wilson, probably 40-60. So, Hans Kim. I mean, I don't know if Hans Kim has heat from Kill Tony anymore. Like, his act he's a nice guy. I've met him a few times, but it's fairly one note. Thank you for the plugs, William Zoom. Um, so, that's the thing when I think Kill Tony and to a lesser degree Roast Battle, you get exposed on those shows pretty fast. Like, like you look at the initial stars of Kill Tony, if you want to call them that. You get the headline and then, you go around the country once and you can't do 20 minutes, let alone an hour. You get exposed very fast. So, I mean, but that's why Kill Tony's brilliant, because as soon as, you know, someone fades from the show, you've got another character to take their place. So, I'll probably go to my sisters. I have one sister out here, one in Washington State. I have a brother in Hawaii and a brother in Hood River, Oregon. So we don't really, um, we used to do a family meeting once a year just so we could hang out, see each other. I think the last time we did that was 2019. But we all love my family's very close actually, but we're not in close physical proximity. Yeah, I mean, happy Thanksgiving. Well, my brother's kind of a loose cannon in Hawaii, so I let him do his thing. I've never been to Hawaii. I do want to go there. Um, Wait, Ping Dang made a joke about China owning the USA debt, and Hinchcliffe took it personally as American and made his remarks. I mean, I don't know. I mean that incident with Tony and Ping Dang was a while ago. Um, so I mean, I remember, just loosely, my memory of that is I thought Ping Dang gave Tony a good intro, to be honest with you. Um, Now, off my memory, just seeing the clip initially, I was like, okay. He clapped back at Tony for something. I don't remember. And Tony probably took offense to that. And Tony was probably a little buzzed. I don't know. He maybe had a drink or two in him, and he was like, "Fuck this kid." So no, I don't do the Laugh Factory Turkey Day watching Tom Arnold and Fraser Smith bomb for an hour. I mean, haven't the fucking homeless suffered enough? Please. Crazy Man in the Wise. Your brother's last name, Von Erich, basically is the Kevin Von Erich of the Skakel family. By the way, I'm wearing my Chris Nyland t-shirt too. Let me Raw Knuckles. Never back down, never stay down. From my new friend Chris Knuckles Nyland. So yeah, I mean, Oprah's probably laying low after the Kamala Harris debacle. Raised $1 billion and they were still 20 million in the hole. And what's with RFK Jr. eating McDonald's on a private plane? How dare he? But if he can get me on Rogan, all will be forgiven. You don't care? Yeah, no. I mean, I like Barry ribs. Yo 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 yo. I don't know Barry ribs. I've never met Barry ribs. I told Kevin Brennan the one thing that will get me to New York would be a Kevin Brennan Part 2 roast with different characters. You could have me. Of course, you have to have Aaron Berg host it. He's amazing. You got probably Chad. You got to have Chad on it. You could have some repeaters. Tom Cassidy. Yeah, I mean Tom. All right, my cousin guy. He's fucking jacked, man. Now I would bet there's something going on there. I mean, like I work out every fucking day. Even when I had bronchitis, I was still fucking hitting the elliptical and going on long walks with Lois. I would guess at the minimum, my cousin RFK Jr. is on TRT. I did send him a message. Hey, congratulations, and hey, can you get me on Rogan? I mean, HGH is a possibility. It could be on Deca, D-Ball. There's tons of things. I mean, I almost took TRT a few years ago, but when the guy told me, I do have a strong head. Look at this jawline. Ray DeVito, Mike Gibbons, Peanut, and Attell. What are you referencing, Chicken Man? You're losing me. How did you feel about getting bumped from the Chad versus Ray? I was on the Chad versus Ray roast. My judging was controversial, but I still stand by it. I mean, I love Machete, but like clearly he's on just to goof on, like, but the other comics at the cave. Oh yeah, I mean you could, yeah, 100%. I don't know if Peanut can fly to New York. I mean that would be a tell would kill. I mean you could have a great day. So let's go to you, Chicken Man. Ray Gibbons, Attell, me, Chad, Tom Cassidy. I mean, you gotta have Bichetti, you know he's gonna be there. You have 10 people. That's probably too much. After I was bumped for Tom Lewis, or who was the guy I got bumped for? Yeah. You know, I don't I'm all glad it happened because I just got nothing to say about the Dabbleverse. I think Kevin wanted me on about Hinchcliffe, which would have been fine. Tom Myers. I don't know who Tom Myers is. And he sure probably doesn't know who I am. Well, I mean, I don't know if I would say it was Bush League. I mean, I would have liked the heads up because I did wait all day for the link. But it's all good. Yeah, Melton. I mean, Melton's snippy. Like and the good thing about having Melton there, you'd have the awkwardness with him and Chad don't like each other. So there would be a contentious roast. Um, I would go to the stand in 2 seconds for that. I would fly to New York on my own dime. Um, so no, I don't think I was going to be on until the Tony thing happened. I think when the Tony thing happened, it was like, well, Earl knows Tony. I know Tony better than anyone who's commenting on him. I mean, we've been friends for 15 years, so I knew him when he worked at Starbucks. So, and I've known Red Band even longer. So, I will do a few more minutes, guys. A few more minutes. You can charge $100 at the door, and people would call the club 100%. If you had that, let's go over the lineup one more time. Now you're gonna have to pay for some of these guys to fly out. Like, I'm not gonna fly out my own dime to do this, but you have DeVito. I mean, I don't know why Mike Gibbons would be on it. Like, he's not in this world. But let's Mike Gibbons, I guess, just to have some new blood in there. Attell. I'd even have Aaron Steel Toe on. Like, he's not funny, but it's the fucking guy, so he'd be good to goof on. Chad, Tom Myers, Patty. I mean, you got to have a woman on there. Maybe Christy Miller, who's a really funny New York comic. Tracy Carnazzo's really funny and kind of cunty. But you don't want to have too many. I mean, Gino, like Pat Dixon would be fun. Like part of a roast is getting people on there who don't like each other. So it's kind of a shoot. Melton, obviously. Well, Mike Gibbons might have a job, but he doesn't really blend in with this group. If I were to write a joke about Mike Gibbons, it would be like, who are you? Gibbons and KB go way back. Okay, then get him in there. I don't know everyone's relationships. Yeah, Peter, why did Kevin stiff me that day? I mean, that would be great. You could fill the stand. And what you could do, if you really want to fucking play it right, is kind of like what Red Band did on the old Ice House Chronicles show. Hit the like button, please. It was an hour stream. Come on. I don't ask you guys for fucking much. Is you do what Red Band used to do at the Ice House, where you have a podcast, in this case, a roast, and then the comics do stand-up in the other room. So you'd have, say, Ray do a set upstairs, and then the roast is in the downstairs stand. I mean, I haven't been to the new stand, but in the old stand, well, I guess there was just one room, but I think there's 2 rooms at the new stand. So you'd have, Ray do a set, and then he comes down and roast Kevin. Then I go upstairs, I do a set, I come to, and you just, so, you make it worth the comics while, to be honest with you. I would love to do that. Of course, I might have to have a bodyguard in New York, but that's all right. That would be fun. Let's get that out there in the universe. Pretty sure KB's big super chatters would fund an event like that. I mean, you could charge $100 at the door, and I think people would, and you could have a live. You'd have to have someone with some tech. You'd have to have Hineker there, and maybe he's on stage. And you could have the super chatters roast us. It could be a free for all, but you'd have to have some. Aaron Berg would have to really take the reins, and you couldn't just have people shouting over each other. I mean, I would guess if you did that roast with the names we've said, you'd make at least $5,000 in super chats. And like let's say every roaster gets 250 or whatever it's Kevin's thing. So like um and then, uh, people get a little cut of the door or whatever. If you have merch, you could sell. I don't have merch, but like it'd be fun, man. And probably people would bury the hatchet. Like I had fun at Hackamania. I got to meet Pat Dixon. I got to meet Melton. I think I was on a show with Melton at the Ice House like 10 years ago, but I don't recall us ever talking. So, um, we'll go 5 more minutes, guys, or 6 more minutes. So get those questions in, baby dolls. Hit the like button, subscribe, all that bullshit. Um, and I had a good show last night at the Comedy Store. Closed out the main room. Of course, every comic before me ran the lights, so it was awesome to go on an hour later to a dead tired crowd. But I still did 45 fucking minutes because I'm a fucking professional, you bastards. And then final thoughts on the has an ex ever called you a lazy white supremacist? Not to my face. Boing. I did wear my knuckles shirt last night, but by the way, check out Chris Nyland's podcast. He was very cool too. One more time. Can someone take a screenshot of this and show it to Knuckles? I'll pose. I'll count to 5. Someone take a screenshot and send this to Chris Nyland. Hold on. Hold on. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll count to 10. Take that screenshot and send it to Knuckles. 6, 7. I don't ask you guys for much. 8, 9, 10. Bingo. I am not sick. I'm coughing a little bit, but I was diagnosed with severe bronchitis, and it was brutal for like a week, and then I pulled my back out. So every time I fucking coughed, for whatever reason, the initial pain went right to where I pulled my back out. It was tough. I get sick like literally every 3 to 4 years. No, I was diagnosed with bronchitis, took 2 COVID tests, and it was not COVID. So, I'm lucky in that regard. I mean, people are still getting it. So in LA, I think they have like, 500 new cases a day, if you believe the stats or whatever. So, and it's just, I mean, I remember when I knew I got sick, I was at the Comedy Store on a Saturday night and everyone's coughing. And I was just like, I'm going to be sick tomorrow. I resigned myself to be, I knew I was going to be sick. And so I woke up, I started coughing. And then when I went to get up, I was watching the Steeler game. And when you get that lower back pain, but if you catch it in time, it goes away. Like it's like a warning, it's like a shock to the earthquake. If you catch it, you don't get the lasting back pain. Well, I thought I caught it, but I didn't. So then I could barely it took me a half hour to get from right over there to upstairs to my bed. And then I couldn't sleep because every time I coughed, the pain would go to my lower back. I was fucked, man. I don't mind saying it. So pew, out of control. Staggy, always with a hot take. Well, but you know what I'm talking about, William? Like when you get the initial pain like right there, and if you like kind of straighten up, it goes away. I just missed it by like a second where it didn't go away. And you just have to you deal with it. I mean, I throw my back out maybe once every 5 years. I mean, I think the last time I threw my back out prior to that was 2019. So I'm lucky in that regard. But when it happens, I was down for the count. Uh, I love to learn. I mean, he's got to work and shit, got a family, teaches. I mean, he's a guy. He's probably the funniest dude I know, legit. But he has no manager or agent, and you're not going to get on TV without a manager or an agent. You're just not. Um, so it's like, look at Matt Rife. That's why I'm inspired by Matt. Matt 3 years ago couldn't get work in this town. Literally, the only gigs he got were when he was on his own show at the Laugh Factory with my friend Paul Elias. Now he's headlining the Netflix festival. So that's Hollywood in a nutshell. He was just as funny 3 years ago as he is now. Uh, yeah, sign me up for hydroxychloroquine and Levectin. I'm on it. Well, I mean, I think my back issues stem that I played golf for 25 years, and golf is brutal on your spine when you really think about it. And I played hockey for probably the last 30 to 35 years, and that's no joke. You're always bending over, and a hockey swing or hockey, yeah, I guess it's called a hockey swing, is very golf-like. Yeah, and lifting weights. I mean, like when I am feeling it, I do 110-pound dumbbell bench presses, and the toughest part isn't really the lifting, but it's getting the weights from the rack to the bench up in the air. It's a lot of fucking stress on your lower back. So, you sure you didn't get DeVito'd? I don't know what that means, Chicken Man Brennan. I'm not sure what that means. What does getting DeVito'd mean? I mean, I used to get stem cell facials, but then I heard like stem cells treatment, whether it's facials or injecting, it does you no good unless it's your stem cells. So maybe I'll fly to Europe with Keith Richards. Yeah, I mean, well, we don't talk about that in here, Ryan. I need my nephews. I need my cousin's help. What, you want me to walk around with a black thong? Boing, oing, 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 oing. No, it was a hot girl who used to give me the stem cell facials. I mean, final thoughts on the Mike Tyson fight. I think they had a handshake agreement to not hurt each other. I mean, Mike Tyson was shadow boxing 5 feet away from Paul. He'd come in, throw a punch, go back out. And, to Paul's credit, I think he could have finished Tyson. He kept landing that right, and he could have moved in for the kill. And, I don't think he wanted to embarrass him. I think they should have gotten equal pay, though. I mean, I don't think Paul should have gotten $20 million more, but, I mean, like I said, I thought value wise, I got my money's worth. I mean, what is Netflix now? 12, $13. Boing. No, she was my friend, ACDC. Boing, boing. Uh, Definitely think Netflix is going to fuck up the pay-per-view model. Like, I'm going to order AEW's, I think it's Full Gear this Saturday. It's probably $50-$60, but if AEW said, hey, let's go to Netflix and you can just get the thing for free, essentially with your Netflix subscription, that's $12. So Netflix really stumbled onto something. Amazon's going to probably do something similar, and Hulu. And thoughts on Rosie? I mean, Rosie looked good. I mean, that was probably my biggest beef with the announcers on the fight card. Like, I get having Andre Ward on it, trained by my buddy the Goosen family back in the day. But Cedric the Entertainer, like, what was that? And why was he dressed like James Earl Jones and Coming to America? And then Rosie Perez, what? I mean, I get that Jake Paul takes more of the entertainment angle of it, but I want to hear boxing analysis. Yeah, by the way, I think Jake Paul's next fight is against Ron Lyle. Hello. Yeah, I mean WWE going to Netflix is going to change the game a little bit. Um, DEI hire, maybe Chicken Man. Yeah, I mean, I love Roy Jones. I mean, I love having someone like Roy Jones or even Andre Ward. I mean, they've been in the battles, so they can tell you what each guy is thinking. And Roy Jones fought Mike Tyson, so uh, tis the season for holiday sweater beefers. Are you coming in from Danish and O'Neill's podcast? So, all right, kids, we got one more minute, and then I'm going to go to the gym and try and lift weights for the first time in 2 weeks. So I don't end up looking like a Dabbleverse super chatter. Um, Jake Paul would fight Carl Weathers next if he was Jake Paul would fight Carl Weathers now. Dead. Well, I'm worried about my lower back. So Peter Chicken Man Brennan coming in with some wrestling knowledge. Juventud Guerrero or Psychosis would have commented on the fight. Yeah, who was the one who went like this? Was that the I saw Juventud Guerrero wrestle for XPW. It was kind of sad. Was Psychosis the one? No, La Parka. Some old school WCW talk. Well, I might have to go another 5 minutes if we're going to talk about WCW. Yeah, that was La Parker who would go like this. And, I'll end on this. I'll do some self-promotion. If you guys aren't able to tip me, which, we've done an hour and 15 minutes. I haven't asked you guys for fucking money once, and I never will. You guys can take your super chat money and stick it up your ass. But if you want to help me, maybe tweet out at a podcast you want to see me on. Don't make it obvious, but play it cool. Don't say at Joe Rogan, you got to have the greatest comic of all time on Earl Skagel. You got to play it cool. Play it cool. Act like you've been here before. And, there's many ways, hit the like button, the subscribe, all that shit. I guess La Parka faked his knee injury in the Goldberg fight because he had a match in Mexico the following week. Well, Goldberg was known as being stiff. Like, he almost literally killed Bret Hart. And Goldberg was, untrained, really. So he did not know, he's still pretty jacked. But if you look back at prime Goldberg, like Hogan in the Georgia Dome, which is probably the hottest crowd ever in a pro wrestling match. I mean, look at the final spear he gave Hogan. That shit hurt, man. I mean, he speared Hogan. Goldberg kind of had a Vader, Harley Race style, but Vader and Harley Race were fucking trained. Goldberg was just like, couldn't control himself. Yeah, I mean, that Regal match, it kind of reminds me of the time I got into a fight in a hockey game with the sheriff. He was on the other team, and he was probably about 5'7", maybe 160, if that. So when we kind of got into it and squared off in the corner, I thought, I'm going to fucking kill this guy. And I didn't know he was a sheriff at the time. So he did like a Regal Carney move on me where he pushed my shoulder, and I went like this. And he choked me out. And I wasn't out for long, maybe 5 seconds. I woke up, and he had my glasses in his hand like this. And I'm like, bro, those are really expensive. Please don't break them. And he looks at me and goes, calm down. And then the next season, we play with each other. Hello. Yeah, I mean, you could see some matches where, they start almost shooting on each other. I think one of the more famous ones is Earthquake John Tenta against, was it KOI? I don't know how to say the guy's name. He was a sumo guy in Japan, and he kind of went off the script. They were doing a pro wrestling match, and then this guy starts shooting on John Tenta, and John Tenta was like, fuck it, let's go. Talking about fights, you got to ask Eleanor about the time the great Freddie Soto fought Eric Douglas. I will. I see Eleanor I mean, I would say the best fight in comedy story history that I saw was probably the time. This was right when the store was popping, like 2014. Roast Battle was popping. Rogan was back. Joey Diaz was back. Um, and there were these two black dudes kind of loitering on the patio, and the patio was packed, standing room only. And the tip jar for the bartender was overflowing with money. I mean, I would guess easily a couple $100 in there. And these two guys were kind of loitering and they just didn't fit in. They didn't look like audience members. They weren't comics. And then one of them steals the tip jar, but then his partner stayed. And so a car pulls up, and then all the people in the patio went vigilante and pulled the guy out of the car. The guy who kind of stayed on the patio took off, and a bunch of people started chasing him, and we cornered him in the open air parking lot just west of the store. And then the sheriffs came in, and I just remember this one gigantic sheriff. This guy's about probably 6'6", Dolph Lundgren style, like good looking, muscular. And he was like, "Where'd they go?" And we all went over there. And this guy leaped over the fence of the open air parking lot like a fucking, like literally Universal Soldier when they climbed down the reservoir wall. And let's just say that guy got in some shots. I wasn't there for a lot of those. Earl, yes, yes. Good job, Staggy. Um, toughest doorman ever at the store in terms of like who I not want to fight. Um, Man, that's a tough one. I mean, now they're all fucking. I mean, well, now I mean the door guys are still comics, but security guards are. I wouldn't want to fight any of them. But in terms of back in the day, like the 2000s, probably PJ Stansberry, like, because let's just say he might have been on the yayo, and that's a dude who you're gonna have to kill if you fight him. He's not gonna go down, and if he does, you better shoot him. Um, so, did you get any shots in before the cops came? I did not. I did not. I did not get to the guy. Wasn't that guy Gerard pretty tough? Gerard Horton or Carmichael? Guam's a tough guy. I wouldn't want to see him pissed. Fat James wasn't tough. I mean, he could sit on you, and you probably weren't gonna fucking um, like Fat James is 400 pounds. I mean, Fat James is the only guy I know who got bone cancer and got fatter. I mean, boing. Big man, Fat James. I mean, big man. So the pothead guy that was dating the homeless girl. Well, I mean, that's a couple. Oh, Jared Levin. I mean, Jared knows karate. I mean, but he's kind of small in stature. Um, I see. I don't know. He was not. Yeah, Jared Levin. I mean, he was not someone you look at him, and he's in sneaky shape. Like he's a surfer. So I think, you could probably see him on the street and go, I could take this fucking little guy. And, like the sheriff I got my ass kicked by, the smaller guys have more to prove. Was O'Neal a door guy? I'm not sure, but I mean, he definitely knows Muay Thai. So he got me in a plum clinch once and I couldn't get out of it. I mean, Ari Shafir is like Ari's tough from the standpoint of he'd do anything to win. He'd fucking grab your dick. He'd knee in the balls. He'd eye gouge you. I mean, O'Neal's up there. I mean, I know he lost his fight to Luis Gomez, but like Luis Gomez is a pretty tough guy. So like, there's no shame in losing to Luis. I'm trying to think of some big dudes in the 2000s. I mean, I can't really think of I mean, I think Jason Washington, he turned into a porn star, but he was a pretty tough guy. So 2 more minutes, guys. John Little is someone who's probably sneaky tough. Like John Little is probably from the Ari Shaffir school of I'll do anything it takes to fight. We're gonna square off. I'm gonna kick you in the balls. I'm gonna eye gouge you. What's the closest you've ever come to scoring with Kate Quigley? Never. Would I? I mean, yeah, she's attractive. I mean, she's 50, man, and she looks good. Um, but I think that problem with Kate, and I mean, I'm sure she's not attracted to me, but like, she's always on. Like, you can never really have like a serious conversation with her because she's always like working in a bit. But I haven't seen her in years, so I think he did straight porn. Uh, well, I mean, the 2000 era. Well, but now, you know, the door guys are all comics still, or door girls, door people. But now we have full on security, and there's some of our security now I would not want to fuck with. Um, so yeah, I mean that's most comics problems. Most comics problems, their toughest opponent is themselves. Um, so I mean, Josh Nasser is a guy who's I think he's too nice to fight, but he's in shape and pretty big dude. Like he's solid. I wouldn't like want to see him pissed. Um, yeah, I mean, there's definitely been some tough door guys. All right, guys, we got 15 more seconds. We've done a nice tight. Steve Simone's, yeah, I mean, absolutely. Steve is in shape. He has a dark side to him. Uh, I wouldn't want to see Steve mad, but you're never going to make Steve mad. Tripoli is in that Ari Shafir, John Little school of he'll do anything it takes to win. And he probably, because he's friends with Rogan and Eddie Bravo, they probably taught him some moves. Um, and I'm trying to think what other comedy store. I mean, I know someone asked Bert and Tom on Two Bears, One Cave, what comic would they be afraid to fight the most? And I think Tom Segura said me. He's like, doesn't Skakel play hockey? um, well, I mean, it's you could just tell. I mean, anyone who's that nice is, I'm that nice. Maybe not quite as nice. Yeah, KD, rest in peace, KD. I mean, KD had no fear. KD was a door guy at the store, open mic comic, and he later became a security guard in Vegas and died taking a bullet for I think a female patron of a casino. So I'm trying to think of other uh, door guys that would be tough back in the 2000s. I mean, there's so many comics, like, I mean, hundreds of names coming into my head. Well, no, there's door guys. Like if you go to the comedy store, you will be greeted by a comic who is a door guy. But now we have full-time security. So, all right, we've got. Yes, we've definitely done a rabbit hole. We'll go to 1 hour and 30 minutes. So 3 more minutes, guys. That's it. I mean, Felipe Esparza is probably a pretty tough dude. He grew up in bad neighborhoods, so he's probably used to fighting. Yeah, Boone. Boone. I don't know if Boone would have been a good fighter or not. Doc Willis was no joke. I mean, I saw him once pin a girl against the ivy because she hit him, and Doc's from the hood, man. He's like, okay, if you're a girl, you're gonna hit me. I'm gonna hit you back. I'm trying to think. I mean, Doc's got heart, man. Definitely not someone that he's from Detroit, man, the bad part of Detroit, like RoboCop part of Detroit. So definitely not someone that I would want to see. I mean, Chewy, the lock guy. I mean, when he was coked up, he'd probably be tough to beat, but he wasn't really a door guy. He was just a lock guy. I mean, boy. I mean, Don's strong like a bull. I don't know, man. I mean, I've never really seen Don mad, but I wouldn't want to see it. I mean, you'd have to have someone with technique, someone like an O'Neal who you wouldn't think really he could pen Barris, but like O'Neal's very fluent in the art of grappling. So, but there's not many. I mean, maybe Big Wheezy if Wheezy sat on him. I mean, Big Wheezy clocks in about 350 to 400 pounds. If Bert fought Gaylord Dingler, I don't think 100% he'd be obligated. Is that Kevin Brennan in ACDC? Has Kevin infiltrated ACDC's Twitter? That's a fact, Jack. One more minute, guys, and this time I mean it. I'm putting the arrow on the ends stream right there. I'm trying to think. Kevin would be a tough fight. You talk about guys who would do anything to win. He probably wouldn't hurt you physically, but like you'd have to kill him. Can I get a predator line? Yeah, you got a super chat for that stuff, Stagwar. Like, you, I can't. Unfortunately, I can't take those type of requests. Um, because then everyone's gonna, turn me into a monkey with a ball on my nose. Um, yeah, I got that Irish anger. Um, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of other. I mean, Ebo. He was a big fat black dude. I mean, I don't think Dan Bilek would be too tough. He's too much of a pretty boy. Jim Painter would be um, um, a tough guy to fight. Talk about someone who would do anything to win. Final thoughts. Steve Parley. Uh, are you telling me Blaine and Hawkins were killed by a fucking lizard? I only did that, Staggy, because I know you've donated in the past. But I got to draw the line at some point. King fan. I mean, I think they're up and down. They beat the bad teams, but they're a little iffy against the good teams. I mean, Kemper's hurt a lot, which we knew going in. I mean, I think he is 35, so he ain't gonna get healthier. I mean, they beat the Red Wings decisively yesterday. Oh my God! Now you make me feel bad, Stagwar. Stagwar, $2 with the new ray gun. Thank you, Staggy. I don't think you're really homeless, though, but thank you anyway. Hit the like button on your way out. I mean, Dowdy being injured has showcased Clark. So, Kaliev's close to coming back. I mean, I think they're going to need, I don't know where his head's at. I mean, Dowdy's not going to be back till January. So, I mean, right now, I mean, they're probably playing a little better than people expected. I do worry about the goaltending. I mean, right now, their goalies are a big save Dave Rittich, who, played good yesterday, but it's Detroit. Let's temper the expectations. And Eric Portillo, a Swedish prospect who, if Rittich goes down, yowza, that they're going to be in trouble. But he's not down yet. So, but I'm a doomsday guy. So, I mean, first line looks good. I mean, it's definitely concerning. Byfield seems to regress, which is unfortunate because he just signed a new contract. That tends to happen. He's essential to this team. And, they're struggling a little bit to find the points. Dubois scored. Dubois, as bad as he played last year, he still had 45 points. And I think he was third on the team in power play goals. So, they traded him for Kemper. So you didn't get any offense back for him. And I think Turcotte, he's like getting injured again, but when he's healthy, he plays good. I mean, I think Anders Lee probably needs a little more seasoning. Hellenius, big body, he seems to be more NHL ready. Uh, yeah, I mean, the Kings are definitely in a weaker division. I mean, the Sharks they're going to be good in a couple years, but not this year. Kraken and kind of regress, and the Ducks, they're just going to be bad for a bit. Um, I mean, so outside the Oilers, I think, and Vegas, they were losing, I think 4-2 to the Capitals tonight in the second. They seem to have regressed a little bit. So I mean, the Kings are in the right division. Um, I mean, Deneau's kind of struggling, Moore's kind of struggling. Um, Fiala's kind of struggling. I mean, they're a lot of their players are struggling, and they're still doing pretty good. So when Byfield's going to bounce back, and Kempe is swarming up. Kopitar is rock solid, but when Deneau, Moore, and Fiala start fucking, getting it together, and then who knows if Kaliev can come in and put a few in, that would be huge, because then you'd probably have a fourth line of probably Lewis, Akil Thomas, and Kaliev. Yeah, I mean, Ovechkin, he might get the Gretzky record this year. I mean, he's definitely back. I mean, last year he looked like he was fading a bit, but I mean, he's on fire. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty mind blowing that he's going to break the goal scoring record. I mean, um, that's going to be. I mean, that's an amazing accomplishment. Wayne Gretzky had so many points. If you took away all his goals, like, he never had one goal, he'd still be the all-time leading scorer. I mean, it's just, very impressive. So, always good to talk hockey. We can talk Kings hockey anytime. I'm not sure when I'm going to be streaming again. I'll do a couple streams this week. Yeah, I mean, Ovechkin's the real deal. I mean, consistent. He's not slowing down. I mean, last year he didn't have a great year. He slowed down a little bit. But, guys like him and Kopitar, I mean, Kopitar looks just as good as he did 5 years ago. So it's kind of I mean, you can be a good player in your older years, if you, um, you know, keep it together. So, but, it'll be interesting to see when Doughty comes back, what they do. I mean, Spence has definitely regressed. King fans hate England. I don't think he's that bad. They're kind of rotating the sixth defenseman with, England, Caleb Jones, and Burrows, the guy who hurt Kaliev. Um, so I'm assuming once Doughty comes back, that'll stop. Um, I mean, Movari's up now. So, I mean, their Kings defense is a little thin right now. I mean, Edmondson's been has advertised. I mean, he's been probably a little better than most people thought. Um, um, I mean, I think the Kings, they're missing something. It just this is not. You don't look at this team like I'm not watching. I watch every game. I study the game. This is not a team that okay. This is a Stanley Cup team. Now they are beating the teams they should beat. I mean, would they beat Detroit yesterday 4-1? I mean, on paper they should beat Detroit by about 4-1. Um, so they need something, and that's the great thing about the trade deadline is you could pick up a guy, a Pat Maroon or something like that. They need. I mean, they're definitely more physical than they were last year. I mean, Janot, he's key. I mean, because he's starting to score a little bit more. He's very key. Um, they need something. They need a spark. Maybe Janot, uh, could be that guy. Who knows? Um, Percy went drag racing today. Oh, I didn't see that. I was watching the Steeler game. Thank you very much. So, all right, guys. I'll probably stream tomorrow at some point. But thank you guys. It's been a fun Earlverse. hit the like button on your way out. Go Kings, go. Go Steelers. This has been another Sunday night in the Earlverse. Thank you for the super chat, Staggy. I appreciate it. Times are tight. I get it. And remember, if you can't tip or super chat, whatever you want to call it, please like, subscribe, share, retweet, whatever. And I'll see you guys later. Earl Skakel in the Earlverse, over and out.